Black voices are everywhere.
Black voices.
Black voices.
Black voices
are everywhere.
Actually, I first met Tony's wife before meeting Tony. It was way before Comet, and we used to run a club together with Eric.
It is called Citia. I've sent application there to want to play in the club.
One day, this white girl came to me, gave me a book with a record. I know Tony Allen. So just pick up my fella records. I said, is this the Tony Allen? And then, wow. But then I just called back Tony's wife and says, okay, we just run a small club, working on small budget, so I'm not sure the right place for Tony, but she says, yeah, for sure, it's the place for Tony. Tony wants to play, that's his life. He wants to play Afrobeat, he wants to share his music with people.
Okay, so they started programming me there.
And starting from this, I mean, he became as one of the key players of the club. So talented guy, without any structure to promote his music, was kind of amazing.
Then we said, let's do something real now. Let's go for an album.
And then we faced the problem of building a label and producing records.
At this time, I got a studio with a few friends called L'Accorderie.
And which is a home studio kind of style, you know. And
very roots at the beginning because we just have one ADAT, so 8 tracks.
So it was open to many projects, ours and for other people, like those guys coming from Parliament, Clip Payne and Mudbone.
I'm Michael Clip Payne of Parliament, of Funkadelic. But at Cordery Street, which was almost a hub, we were there all the time anyway.
And so when Tony and Eric came to see the place, and that's how we shake hands for the first time. He was doing his drum, and I was amazed too by the way he was recording, because he got all the structure in his head, so he can play alone the drum, and the title was set already.
We never did sit around and instruct each other. It was kind of like musical chairs. It's like, it's your turn, okay, what will you put on the record?
It was like a factory, because when someone come, you heard the track and get on the track. I remember Nicolas, the trumpet player, Cesar was there was Sébastien Martel, Fixie too, and everybody was very happy to record, even if it was recording on little amps, and it was happening.
It wasn't a record where we thought of having a hit, but we just all wanted to play with each other. We played all the time anyway. They never really realized I was learning from them just as much as they were learning from me.
So it was also something very based on human feelings, as much as musical feeling.
I think Tony's album was a way for us all to see what we had gathered from each other, you know, and what we could appreciate from each other.
Word is crying.
As silent as a lamb. So learn to shake a hand. Black Voices, the storyline for me, had to do with one ability that we do have, which is to shake hands with each other and say hello, ask each other about our different backgrounds. Where do we come from? What are your roots?
All of us meeting there at the same time, you know. I was helping Clip Payne to back up, to do some percussions on his own thing. And so he was obliged to do something with me too, you know. And then Mudbone too.
Mudbone is my mentor, and like a benchmark for me in the funk scene. Him finding Tony was a blast. It let me know that the world was pretty small.
It was a two-culture meeting, and it became one because American Afro and Afrobeat was like meeting in that place.
I didn't know very many Africans personally.
For clip, it's like, okay, he's a typical African guy with African American, doing something together.
Both of us come from the same background of like working as sidemen for some really great composers.
Clip was coming from George Clinton and others, and all these people, because they are kind of like, they are kind of like militant in a way when they're singing, They are blacks. We have to say something with our voices because the savior for us. We have to say something.
And even with the non-black persons in the room, it still was some kind of black. It was a black situation. It's a definite mix of ideas and see what we get, because Tony said that he didn't want it to be common. He wanted it to be about the personalities that were in the room.
And then when we meet Doctor, he just says, "That's great, man. Everything's on there. Everything's on the tape. That's a record."
And he had to help for finishing the album, but in his own way. Not the way I would have wanted to go, but at least something was on the road anyway. Promoting Black Voices was difficult, for me, as a matter of fact, live, because if you check about all those elements, all those things put in there, it's more of electronics. That's where my difficulties were then, because it wasn't a big band I was using for Black Voices. It's like a maximum Black Voices members, maybe we are not more than 6. It wasn't easy. I wouldn't bet on that.
After Fela's death, it was the right time, because some of the guys of the New York scene, house music and electronic music, gets into Afrobeat because they realize that the complexity of the beats was very similar to what they want to do with electronics.
So this is the first time again they're going to be listening to something apart from Fela that is still carrying still Afrobeat, but this adds some kind of elements of modern elements in it.
It's something really different from everything that came before under the name Afrobeat.
Everybody open their eyes now, their ears. They will start to want to play Afrobeat.
A lot of people I meet now, they just say, these records, Black Voices, Psychondabbers, they're just revolutionary because it just gives them lots of ideas about going into African music. African music can be psychedelic, African music can be electronic, African music can be funky. So that was really the start of something. And since then, everyone's playing Afrobeat. You don't have to be African to play Afrobeat now.
And so Afrobeat is spreading now. It's spreading, but not as strong yet as like reggae yet.
With reggae, if everybody has done the same music as Bob Marley for years, but some guys came and do ragamuffin, some guys came and do dubsteps, some guys came and do dub, whatever.
Now, it's coming up now because that is what they decided to do. They decided to make it happen when the author or whatever disappears.
I think that's what we need now on Afrobeat. People using Afrobeat to bring it somewhere else. And if that happens, and I'm quite confident about that, then it will be for sure an important music for the 21st century.
We had a lot of fun with this story of Black Voices, and the album has been happening till today. So that's why I decided for the 10 years anniversary to produce a new version of the album. We played with Fixie this rough mixtape from La Corderie. Wow, such amazing energy in that recording.
So we start the production, and I called my friend Jean Lamotte, who's a famous sound engineer, and we start to mix in another way those fabulous tracks.
It's just going to be the way I would have wanted to be in the day one. More groove, more everything clear, not too many foreign bodies inside it, you know.
10 years ago, Tony let us, Dr. Al and I, mix his own album. We went for something totally different that Tony never done before. And at the end, that brought a lot of recognition to the artist and to Comet.
Afrobeat for me is like something that I have that's inside me that can totally relate, because I'm doing the funk normally, and that's like a reverse or lost version of an Afrobeat. It's all about the storyline, in my opinion. It's not necessarily the beat. The beat is something that's not hard to get to. I'm not able to play it, but I can dance to it. The only way that I could gauge on whether it was good or not was just to look at Tony's face and to see if he smiled, that would be an affirmative. And if he looked a little bored, I knew I wasn't in the ballpark. So.